Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. The beauty that you're looking at is the IJN Hatsuzuki, and that is an Akitsuki class in its 1942 configuration. It's a Japanese reward destroyer of rank 3, battle rating 4.7, and I absolutely love the ship, but hate how it plays. And I think that this allows me to get into a great discussion what's going on that actually is ruining War Thunder on so many levels when it comes to, destroyer, cruiser and battleship fights. I have talked about it here and there, but today I want to explain in depth why it especially punishes the Japanese tech tree in particular, and that is the HE mechanics. But let me first describe the ship. I think you can get your hands on the ship if you log in via War Thunder Mobile, and there's also a Sherman of some sort that you then can unlock, whatever. And Gaijin has given me a test drive on this ship, and I use this. And I also have a very similar opinion on the Akitsuki, which is in the tech tree, also at battle rating 4.7, which has as its main difference that it has more 25 millimeters. That brings us to the armament. So this ship features 4 twin 100mm turrets with the 65 Type 98 Mod A cannon, which is fantastic on paper because it has a very high rate of fire and a reload of only 2.9 seconds, meaning that if you compare it with the USS Frank Knox, you actually have a DPM advantage despite the reload being 0.1 seconds slower. The problem is you only have 2 types of HE shells, and that is the 100mm HE and the 100mm HE TF. So there is no semi-armor piercing, there is no base use, there is no armor piercing, and the HE itself is relatively weak with barely 1 kilogram of TNT. In fact, it's 950 grams precisely, but it goes really fast with 1,000 meters per second and relatively good accuracy, I might say. So you have the good, the bad, the Japanese HE, and then you also have 4 triple 25 millimeters. There are not that many, they're not that great. They barely help you in any way, so better forget about them. And then we have one quadruple torpedo launcher featuring the 610mm Type 93 Model 3 torpedo, which is the heavy version. It goes for only 15 kilometers, but with 91 kilometers per hour, and features a 1-ton warhead that just shreds about everything. I think to this day this is the heaviest, most powerful torpedo in the game, and it you have 4 available at once, and then you have a full set of reloads, so 8 overall. The ship itself has no armor except for 3.2 millimeters of armor on the turrets, and you go with 61 kilometers per hour, so you're not particularly fast, especially if you compare yourself to the faster French destroyers. The turret rotation speed isn't that fast, which you will see also in one feature. And I think that while the Japanese have destroyers with heavier guns or bigger caliber, such as the IJN Kyoshimo, for example, sharing the same battle rating, which has the 127mm guns, featuring also the only 2 types of HE, and that HE has 2.3 kilograms of TNT, and that makes a significant difference, right? But still, no SAP, no base use, nothing the sorts of like. And so you can see the original World War II Japanese destroyers all have the same disadvantage. They have only HE, and HE in War Thunder has the problem that it has a lot of problems dealing damage to ships with armor. Now that sounds so obvious, yet it's so wrong, because the way that damage is dealt is that you can knock out a turret, right? But it doesn't really cost all that much crew to repair it. You can set fires, you can shred the superstructure, the bridge and whatever, but you don't get to the guts of an enemy ship the same that you can with SAP. And even though Gaijin has severely nerfed the 5-inch 38's SAP in its damage output effect, it still is, at the end of the day, an SAP. It still gets to the modules. And just look at this match here. I'm shredding this German destroyer and I'm dealing damage. But you know, this is a rather soft-skinned big target. And yet it takes me quite a while I am also under fire from this USS Frank Knox. And I'll show you this scene in particular because I tried to knock out his guns, I tried to knock out the bridge, the superstructure, the AA positions, and I am somewhat successful, while I also reverse into the cover of this island to not get shredded. And now look, there is something very critical about to happen. First of all, those two guys ram each other, which is fantastic. It throws them off target. I have several salvos free of shooting, and then he beaches himself, and that totally exposes the ammo rack of the USS Frank Knox, and it's shielded by the German destroyer. But he reverses, and now it's really open, and I aim for it around about, or I have aimed at it, and the ammo just didn't go away, right? It just didn't blow up. It just went away on the frontal magazine. And he's still at 60% after all this shredding, after all this devastation that this barrage of HE shells just did. And with just a couple of SAP rounds, he just deals so much damage that's so hard to repair. And I'm going lower and lower and lower with my crew, and eventually, you know, I will run out of crew sooner than he will run out of shells, right? And now he actually reverses after what feels like a couple of minutes of beaching. If I would have had any other destroyer of any other nation at battle rating 4.7, I'm quite confident that I would have already pasted this guys several times over. And if you have to deal with that sort of enemy over and over again, and I think I haven't mentioned that the Americans also have on their side, on the destroyers, this anti-fragmentation plating. Like, it's not fun, it's not cool, it's not what I want to do over and over again. It's an unfair fight from the very start. And that's before we talk about fighting cruisers, where the HE is way too weak to do anything, but you have nothing else. And I adore you if you think that your torpedoes will have a realistic chance of doing anything. And here I am a little bit in a pickle, and this again shows how pathetic those 25mm are. I'd rather have some Italian 20mm, to be honest. Here I launch a spread of torpedoes. I try to knock out the bridge as well so that he doesn't maneuver out of the way, and I think I'm partially successful here, and I have to divert my attention to the other side. Look how slow the turret rotation speed is, and I'm also switching to the 25mm, which should have auto opened already on that guy, yet yeah, the torpedo hits home on the Moffat, and it takes forever for those turrets to turn around and 25mm to shoot back. Meanwhile, he just gives me the pleasure of those 40mm over and over again, and just at the end I managed to just splash him. Good stuff right there. And the British is hiding behind the island. Good stuff. Yeah, and he can't aim. Lucky me, right? So this is really frustrating. It declassifies the tech tree in the most common engagement, that is destroyer versus destroyer engagement. and even versus patrol boats, you sometimes have a harder time than you think. And you know, I'm not even just mentioning here that you don't have proximity fuse, and the time fuse is not really that useful. It's more useful, in my opinion, to have direct hits. Yeah, my experience in the past wasn't really that great. So yeah, the 25's bad. Torpedoes are awesome, but not really that regular of use. And this just ruins the entire tech tree. This ruins a lot of the experience. And you know, all tech trees, almost all ships, have a stock grind with HE shells, which is always terrible. It's always unfair. It's just, you know, on paper, those HE shells should go through armor. They should go through the anti-fragmentation armor. Yet the anti-fragmentation armor of certain destroyers, especially the Americans, absorbs like 90% of the damage. And there is also a spall liner module that you also can upgrade. And you know, premium ships have them unlocked by default. This is such a horrendous experience model. This is so bad. It shouldn't be the case. It should just be different, that the HE should deal more damage, and it should deal more critical damage. And we really have to talk about armor degradation that actually makes sense if you have if you have really thin armor, like just less than an inch or less than 2-3 centimeters, that you should be able to work yourself through. Look, I really tried to go for the Emorak here. I'm dead anyways, and it's a British destroyer, so you know, that's several HE hits right on it, and only with the third salvo he kills me. I get killed by the patrol boat, but I splash another patrol boat. And with that screenshot, that's it for me today. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like, give it a subscribe if you want to see more. For you it's just a couple of clicks, for me it means the world. And we'll see each other on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.